P.S. I Hate You is a really good episode of The Simpsons. This is the 14th episode of the 36th season. This is directed by Mike Frank Polcino, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And it starts off with Marge and the kids shopping for her birthday party. She bumps into Helen Lovejoy, and Helen Lovejoy says some unkind things, and Marge goes home and she's really angry about this, and she scurries up to her room, and the kids and Homer wonder what she's doing because she seems to get angry, goes up to her room, and then she's not angry again. And there's a tiny mystery of wondering what she did. And then she declares they're going to have the best birthday party ever. And they cut to the party, and it's so good. I genuinely, for a second, thought that it was either a figment of Marge's imagination. Maybe she was imagining what the party should look like. During that scene, I was genuinely waiting for something to happen that indicated this wasn't actually the real party. It was really great. And it was the real party. And then we cut to immediately the next day, or later on that day, I can't remember, but after the party, and Marge's box of letters in her room has gone missing. What's the significance? Well, we find out quite quickly that Marge did something that I think is, for the most part, really clever, but she did do one thing that I think was really stupid. Whenever she gets angry, she writes out a nasty letter full of all of her emotions to the person who has angered her, and then she doesn't send it. And this is quite a common recommendation if you're feeling a certain type of way. Write out those feelings, and by the end of it, you'll realise, I probably shouldn't say these things to this person, but it does make you feel better. I think it's a great idea. The way Marge messed up is by keeping the letters. I don't think there was any benefit to that. Maybe by keeping them, it allowed her to have an example of those feelings and how she's managed to write out those feelings, but I definitely think that was a really stupid decision. And now, of course, the box is gone, and she gets an alert to her phone. And obviously this wouldn't have worked from one of the earlier seasons of The Simpsons. One of the great things about The Simpsons, with having such a long run, is that over time they get to bring in new elements. And obviously in the 80s and 90s she wouldn't have received a cell phone notification. So I find these things to be quite amusing. And it's a raccoon, obviously a video of a raccoon demanding money in exchange for the letters. And the big question is, who has these letters? And we then have a couple of scenes that I didn't think were that interesting, but they helped to move the narrative forward a little bit. And then we're in church, and Helen Lovejoy reads out a letter. And I didn't expect this to go the way it did. She's reading out this letter. It's very clearly one of Marge's letters. And she gets to the end, and the person has cut out the name. Whoever sent her the letter, they cut out Marge's name. And I didn't expect that. I didn't see that coming. I didn't necessarily think that Helen Lovejoy stole the letters. I didn't think that at all. But I didn't expect the name to be taken out. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And we do quite quickly find out who stole the letters, a little bit quicker than I would have liked. But that being said, the rest of the episode did play out really well. The raccoon, there's another message from the raccoon, and the raccoon says something, and that makes Marge realise who it was. It's Shauna, because Shauna said the exact same phrase at the party. Shauna was there babysitting, and Marge maybe wasn't the kindest to Shauna. Shauna wanted a bite of the party food. Marge told Shauna to eat some of the food the 50-something kids were eating instead. So Shauna goes up to Marge's room and messes with her things, and she takes the letters. And Marge, having realised it's Shauna, goes over to Chalmers' house, and she pretends she wants to interview him while Homer is upstairs in Shauna's things trying to find the letters, and Chalmers thinks Marge is flirting with him. It's a decent enough scene. I didn't mind it. It wasn't the most interesting, but it did help to move the narrative forward. Homer was a bit of an idiot because he found the box, and he and Marge are in the car with the box, and only then does he open the box and realise that it's just a box of books. Shauna had taken the letters out, and as luck would have it, in that moment, they see Shauna and Jimbo with a bag full of what are clearly Marge's letters, and they give chase. And Shauna reveals that actually initially she quite liked the letters because it was all of these horrible things, and Shauna thought it was really cool. And then she found the letter that Marge wrote about her. And it hurt her, so she decided to do what she did and start giving out these letters, but taking out Marge's name. And Shauna said something that I thought was really, really interesting. She said to Marge, because Marge explained this was a long time ago, I don't feel that way about this anymore. And Shauna asked her, if you're so over it, why did you save them? I thought that was really interesting. And I don't have an answer on Marge's behalf. As I said at the beginning, maybe she kept them so that she could say, look, these are the emotions I had. I dealt with them. Here's the evidence for that. I don't need to think about it anymore. Maybe that's why she kept them. But I thought that was a really interesting point. If Marge is really over those emotions, why does she need the evidence to say that she's already done something with them? So I thought that was quite interesting. And there's a bit of a kerfuffle. Shauna falls. She falls over the edge of the building. Marge grabs onto her and saves her, proving that Marge doesn't dislike her, or at least she doesn't dislike her enough to let her die. And presumably she doesn't dislike her because she lets her look after the children. But obviously in that moment, Shauna had been holding onto the letters, and the letters scatter everywhere. And everybody in Springfield just so happens to find their letter at that moment, which a little unrealistic, but it worked very well. And everybody's reading them out, and Marge gives this mini speech about why she did this, and the fact that actually she does love everybody in Springfield, and it was nice, and everybody was pleased with her, and it was again maybe a little unrealistic, but it worked well. And then the ending is so great because Marge is shopping with Maggie, and yet again she bumps into Helen Lovejoy. And maybe if they both go shopping at the same time, then maybe Marge should maybe think about shopping at a different time. And when Helen Lovejoy says all of these very kind of seemingly nice things to Marge, but they're kind of backhanded compliments. And just as Helen Lovejoy walks away, it's clear Marge is getting really angry again. And instead of going home to write in her letters, she puts her hand over Maggie's ears and tells Helen Lovejoy to kiss my ass, which I just thought was brilliant. And I'm sure Marge felt a lot better in the moment. So I thought this was a really great episode. There were a couple of scenes that maybe weren't the most interesting, but they did help move the narrative forward. And in general, I thought there was some really good food for thought in this one as well. I think having a healthy way to deal with anger is obviously a really great thing. It seems like for the most part, Marge had found something that worked for her. But the big lesson here, of course, is if you do that, don't then keep those letters where somebody else can find them, because you never know who's going to get hold of them. And also the big question as well is Marge actually letting go of that anger, or is it she kind of just putting it to one side, putting it in the letter, putting the anger into her closet, and then not actually dealing with it? So I think it is helpful, but maybe with Marge, she needed something else as well. Certainly with certain characters like Helen Lovejoy. So I think there are some really strong takeaways from this. It's a really entertaining episode. Definitely very, very unpredictable. I certainly didn't guess it was Shauna. I'd love to know if you watched it. Did you have any idea who it was? I had no idea. So for me, a great mystery, really good fun, quite a funny episode. And ultimately, I thought P.S. I Hate You was a really good episode of The Simpsons.